Have you ever seen something from the corner of your eye that wasn't there when you looked again? How about hearing from a friend of a friend that while they were hiking somewhere, they thought they saw something impossible? But when they spoke to a ranger, there was always a simple explanation that left you unsatisfied. My name is Chris, and this is my colleague Jack, and we're senior wardens for the Creature Conservation Initiative.
Shit, are we?
We protect the world from the creatures of superstition and myth, but more importantly, protect those same creatures from the world.
That wasn't in my contract.
Wasn't it? I thought that was the whole deal. Hello everyone, welcome to another episode of Blink and You're Mythed. Welcome aboard this podcast train. You've been waiting for it. I know it. Hope you're doing well. Jack, how are you doing today?
Wondering when the ticket man's going to come round and throw me off this train. Because...
Any minute now. You already stamped my ticket, so he's got to be around.
Oh, damn it. I didn't buy one. That's the problem.
God damn it, Jack. You had one job.
Oh, apparently, by the sounds of the intro, I have multiple jobs I didn't know about. Bloody hell.
Somebody should have told you, probably.
Would have been useful at some point. But anyway, I'm doing pretty damn good, thank you very much. How are you doing?
Well, I am a little bit sad and disappointed because despite the months of using this platform or this podcast as my private dating platform, I haven't got a single call, message, or proposal. But other than that, I'm doing pretty well, actually. Spring is here. I love it. Everything's fine.
I mean, it is that time of year. Maybe you'll get lucky. Maybe they'll send you off for the succubuses again.
Unlikely. I wouldn't say no.
I mean, it's probably for the best. Your track record with the mermaids is, well, something we've discussed before.
Mermaids are a lot harder to deal with.
Well, I mean, the first thing with mermaids is don't go alone with them.
Yeah. You know, that opens up other possibilities, but let's not get into that.
Anyway, moving swiftly on.
Yes, let's keep the age rating down for this episode. We are talking today about the Peluda.
The Peluda?
Yes, have you heard about it before?
No, I can honestly say I've not come across the Peluda before.
I almost thought so, and it has other names. It originated in French, the word for it.
Okay.
That's called La Velue. Excuse me, France. And translates roughly to the hairy one, as I understand it. And it's also called sometimes the Shaggy beast of La Ferté-Bernard.
Is this something to do with your dating profile again?
Maybe. Could be my profile name, maybe. But this is actually something else. So I assume this name and description is enough for you to know what to expect.
Hairy beast of some form.
Pretty much, yeah. It's a dragon.
Oh, it's a form of dragon, is it?
Yeah, we were talking about a different kind of dragon the other time, and that made me think of this one. And the first time it's popped up in writing was around the 15th century, as I said before, mainly in France. That's kind of the region where it lives. France, Spain, that kind of, I don't know, France doesn't count as Mediterranean. Is there? Or does it? I don't know.
No,
is there
France
whatever a word might be for France and Spain as one region? Insert that word here.
Okay. I'm just not sure where to go from there.
I feel like there should be a word, but yeah, maybe I'm just an idiot.
It's certainly not Mediterranean.
No, not at all. Editing Chris here from the future. So I checked Wikipedia, and apparently France does count as a Mediterranean country, so I'm not a complete idiot. Well, at least not for that reason. Anyway,
Right.
my D&D nerds in the audience might be excited to learn that it is related to the Tarrasque, which is an infamous monster in the game.
Ooh.
And I'm not sure how the relationship works there, but Yeah, it's not quite as dangerous, but it's you wouldn't want to encounter it anyway, probably.
Fair enough.
This hairy dragon, as we see it, according to legend, it wasn't let on board of Noah's Ark for whatever reason, because, I don't know, God decided it was ugly or something. So it wasn't let onto the Ark, but it somehow survived in the water, and yeah, that kind of pissed it off a little bit, and now it wants to take revenge on humans, or so the legend goes.
Okay, so God annoyed it, or Noah annoyed it, or something to do with religion annoyed it. Now it's got a vendetta against humans.
Yes.
Excellent, good start.
You know, normal religion things.
Does it fall under the kind of category of being like a demon or something then, in terms of religion?
I mean, as much as any dragon would probably. I think dragons are its own kind of category in medieval literature and religion and whatnot.
True.
I'm not an expert in that kind of thing, really.
Yeah.
But I'm going to go out on a limb and say this story is probably not true. But what is true is that it has evolved to adopt a certain aquatic lifestyle. Like it's not like it's not only in the water, but it's kind of amphibian, I think is the word. It likes the water. It does a lot of hunting there, but it's also walks around on land. I would probably compare it to alligators in terms of where they live and how mobile they are in water compared to land.
Okay, that's quite an interesting one to say. If it's a amphibious creature that's so hairy, I don't know that many amphibious creatures that quite hairy. So I'm kind of curious how that helps it in the water.
You know beavers, so. It doesn't look
True.
entirely unlike a beaver, so...
that makes a bit more sense. For some reason in my head I was thinking it was like dreadlocks.
That'd be amazing.
That's what was in my brain. But no, we're talking about...
Rastafari dragon chilling out in the river.
But we're talking like a bit more like furry beaver kind of looks.
Yeah, I suppose. I'll probably... imagine somewhere between a tortoise and a porcupine, maybe.
Okay, so a little bit longer spines, but not quite as long as a porcupine.
Yeah, I mean they're pretty long. So the whole animal is kind of like it's almost egg-shaped, so very tall, like body, and then the tail and the head come out of that. The entire thing is about as large as an ox, probably, is the most common comparison size-wise.
Okay.
So it's not a massive world-changing dragons like others we've talked about on this podcast.
Yeah.
It's more a normal animal, more or less, that roams the countryside.
All right. That's cool. I like the sound of that.
You have this kind of oval-shaped body that is covered in a long green fur, and between that fur there are, kind of like the porcupine, there are these kind of spines sticking out, a lot of them. And the thing about those is that they are also poison-tipped, so it's even more dangerous to touch than the porcupine is, and the thing I always think about is that this is a defensive mechanism, and I do have to wonder what kind of animal would hunt a large, strong ox dragon. So I'm very glad I haven't met the predator yet. So
I mean, any kind of dragon is always definitely a bit of a challenge if you were going to be the predator to take that
definitely.
As prey.
Yes.
I think that would fall under the category of something like the Leviathan or something, rather than anything else.
Probably.
But it's quite interesting that they've developed this defensive mechanism at all anyway.
Yeah, and I can only assume that whatever was its predator has gone extinct by now, because we haven't really seen anything that hunts them in the wild. They don't seem to have any predators today. So
Alright.
I guess they won evolution.
Yeah, sounds it.
They have a kind of funny look with their round shape, and then they have legs coming out that are kind of stumpy, a little bit like a tortoise, and
Okay.
so they're not the most agile creatures on land.
Yeah.
They're not gonna outrun a lot of their prey, probably. They have two advantages. One is the fur. It looks a lot like long grass or something, so they are pretty well camouflaged if they want to.
Yeah.
So they can, despite of their size, sneak up quite well. And the other thing is they have a very long tail, and that tail is, of course, also spiked at the end. Compare the Thagomizer on a Stegosaurus or something. And yeah, they use that as kind of like a whip almost. They whip around their body and whip their prey with their tail, and it's quite massive. So the poison is really only there for finishing the job most of the time, because once you get hit with the giant flesh whip, you're pretty much down anyway.
I was gonna say that's just kind of adding insult to injury right at the end there.
Yeah, definitely.
You've crushed my chest cavity, and I'm dying of a poison.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, the poison is really just the and stay down part.
Sounds it.
Yeah. So in medieval times, as a lot of these creatures tend to be recorded for, is destroying crops. And there seems to have been a variant that could actually breathe fire, because there's a lot of history about these creatures setting crops on fire. We don't see that today. I'm pretty sure the history guy's conclusion was that the fire variant is extinct these days, so probably hunted to extinction, if we're honest.
Okay, well, I mean, that answers my next question, which was going to be, is there a chance that it could have been a different form of dragon that breathes fire? Yeah. We're well aware of them. And one day we'll do an episode on it. But
yeah.
Okay, then. So we actually know that there was another variant of this.
Exactly, yeah.
That is cool.
Yeah. I mean, it's cool as long as you don't stand in front of one of them, I guess.
Then it's hot.
Probably wasn't a lot of fun. Yeah. But the modern one is not that much better, because instead of fire, they have a kind of
plasma
acid that they can spew, which does kind of the same damage. It damages crops, and you really don't want to get it on your body.
Sounds it, yeah. It's
yeah.
So they basically changed from fire to essentially a toxic element to them instead.
Yeah. I'm not sure if they changed. I'm pretty sure that both variants used to be around at the same time, but it's just that the fire ones have kind of gone away over time.
Yeah.
Usually the acid is not really a weapon, because it uses its tail mainly for that. What it is mostly used for is a little bit icky. It's kind of it helps with pre-digestion, like some insects do. They kind of cover their prey with this acid that kind of dissolves it a little bit before they eat it. It's not a very pretty sight.
Could it be like their stomach bile then, in a way?
I think that's separate, but it's very similar. They just developed some kind of system to spit it out, basically.
I've just had the idea that they're like the old people of the creature world, and they've just developed how to mush up their food before eating it. They're just walking around.
Basically.
Just walking around going, "Hold up, young whippersnapper. I need to pre-digest this before I eat it."
Let me just drool all over this food.
Well, part of me's kind of like seeing maybe like the movie Alien vibes, like with their blood being acidic. Would you say?
Their blood is not acidic, which
I mean, it's in like the blood's acidic, but obviously like the blood is the saliva, and yeah, just
yeah,
wondering, would it have a similar effect? That's all that's kind of runs through my brain.
yeah, it's not quite that extreme. I
Okay.
think the alien blood is kind of unsurpassed in its meltiness, but yeah, as I said, it's still not very great to get on your body. And
This sounds like experience.
actually, no, this time.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I've made other errors, but we'll get to that in a minute. So another thing about these creatures is that we talked about them being very defensive in a way, and
Yeah.
that also extends to basically to everything. There's scales on the non-hairy neck. They're very thick. The hairs themselves are very sturdy and hard to cut through, and the spines doubly so. So, today we have high caliber weapons and whatnot if we need to kill one, which we usually don't. But from medieval perspective, it was basically invincible, apart from their tail, which is a little less armored, and also they have a kind of venom reservoir towards the end of their tail.
Yeah.
And if that gets injured, it can very easily lead to a lot of venom getting into their own bloodstream, which they are kind of resistant to their own venom, but they're not immune. So if enough of it gets in there, which happens if you cut right through the tail.
Sounds in a similar way that humans can survive drinking alcohol, which is technically a poison.
Yeah.
But if you drink too much of it, it will kill you.
Kind of, yeah.
They can live through their own venom, but too much of it will take them out.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, that's quite interesting.
It's the same with some venomous snakes. They can deal with the occasional bite when they like accidentally bite into their own body when they're fighting prey or something. But shoot a pint of venom into them, and they're not gonna like that.
Sorry, your snake analogy just made me remember that earlier today, while having breakfast, I managed to bite the inside of my own cheek. And I just have like in my head a venomous snake accidentally biting the inside of its own cheek and just going, "Oh, damn it!" So, tell us a little bit more about these creatures.
What else can I tell you? Even as I said, the main vulnerable part on their body is the tail, which is what a lot of medieval stories deal with. There's always someone who manages to defeat a big dragon by hitting its tail and all that kind of thing.
So yeah, based on the idea of like armor, if the tail is going to be whipped around to absolutely pulverize someone, then it's going to have a little bit less armor.
Exactly.
So that would make sense.
Yeah, that's probably, if we're honest, how the fire variant died out. A lot of knights wanting to prove themselves and garner favor by defeating the big scary dragon and
saving the villagers by killing the one that hurt the peasants while they live in their large castles completely safe. Yeah.
Exactly, yeah. They are unfortunately endangered. There are not a lot of them left. Because, as I said, they've been hunted for centuries, and they're also quite solitary creatures. They live rather long lives, but they don't mate very often.
Okay.
They kind of just go on their own, and so if you hunt them, you're going to reduce their numbers rather dramatically.
That is concerning.
It is, but that's unfortunately quite common.
Yeah.
Usually they don't really go near people. Accidents happen, but usually they stay out of the way of humans because they know that we can pose a danger, and even predators, they usually prefer an easier way to get their meals.
Well, anything that's kind of related to a dragon, we tend to find is They've got definitely a higher than average intelligence, especially when it comes to danger and us, where we're
Yeah,
concerned. So I'm not surprised by any of that.
probably wouldn't call them intelligent in the way that we are, but they have a very good intuition in what to avoid usually.
Yeah, yeah.
What they often do is they eat livestock. They live in the countryside, mainly in France these days, and if there's sheep around on the field, or I don't know, maybe a small cow somewhere, that kind of thing. And that leads us wonderfully into the second half of this episode because that's how it all started.
All right.
So a Peluda had repeatedly attacked a sheep herd,
Yeah.
just over days and weeks, picked off sheep by sheep, and the farmer was getting quite annoyed at this, and
As he would.
as he would, and he finally decides to try to find out what is taking his sheep in the night, because no, there's not a lot left. It doesn't look like wolves or anything, the usual suspects.
This sounds like a bad idea already.
It very much was. So he sees this creature, tries to shoot it, and of course, gets killed.
Excellent.
Excellent.
Kind of suspected it, if I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah, it is a very predictable outcome, which nevertheless was quite a bad starting point, because when people start to get injured or killed, how am I gonna put this? They don't tend to react in the most rational way. They get scared and angry, and
Yeah.
also authorities got involved. So we were quite lucky that one of our contacts gave us a tip and managed to buy us some time so we could try and secure the animal before the authorities would basically go and kill it.
Okay, I like that. It's always good to have contacts, people.
Absolutely, we wouldn't be anywhere without contacts.
Yeah.
So I get sent over to France. There's worse ways to spend the summer than in the French countryside.
Yeah.
So this is a large-ish animal, so we would need a truck for transporting it.
Yeah.
But a big truck to transport this animal would scare it away. So the plan was, I basically go ahead more quietly, scout it out, find it, tranquilize it, and then call in a truck to carry it away and then put it into an enclosure.
Sounds reasonable.
Sounds like a fantastic plan. What could possibly go wrong? I'll tell you. So we start in this village that the deceased farmer was working in, and it's a big animal, so its tracks are quite easily found.
Yeah.
So I managed to track it towards a river in the area, follow the tracks, and at some point I'm basically in a field of tall grass, and there's maybe a couple trees around, but I'm really in the middle of nowhere. I'm kind of lost. There's a little mound, and it's not a large hill or anything. It's just kind of this instinct. If you're looking for something, you want to be a little bit higher to maybe see better, and
Yeah, makes it reasonable.
yeah. I put my foot on this mound, and I can only assume it was as startled as myself, because the mound suddenly jolts awake, throws me backwards, and big surprise, it's a Peluda resting in the grass.
Excellent.
Yeah. It was probably asleep, or it would have probably noticed me coming, but now there's a big startled dragon in front of me, staring me down, and I'm weighing my options not very long, because I quickly arrive at the solution of run, and I just leg it as fast as I can, and I just hope to God that it's not fast enough to catch me.
I mean, that's an effective option. That is definitely a very, very good strategy. Usually taught on first day of training.
Yes. When in doubt, run.
When in doubt, run it out.
Yeah, exactly. So I run towards a large tree I see a couple 100 meters or so away.
Okay.
And somewhere in there must be the fastest 100 meters that I've ever run. And I think the only thing that saved me was that while it was following me, it kind of, a couple times it kind of tried to whip me. It turned around.
Took a swing,
and
yeah.
it took a swing, and I was luckily just out of range. And second time I kind of dodged under it, ducked away, and that slowed it down enough that I had enough time to basically run up the tree. You wouldn't imagine how fast you can climb a tree if you're just sufficiently motivated.
Oh, I can. Trust me.
Yeah, you probably can, but a lot of our listeners would be surprised.
Yeah, you all those fears about heights and safety equipment, they go out the window very fast.
Very fast, very fast. So I sprint up this tree somehow, and even while I'm up in the tree, I have to kind of dodge a little bit left and right because it's still trying to whip at me, and its tail is quite long.
Yeah.
But luckily there's some sturdy branches around me, so it can't really get to me. And after a few attempts, a few minutes of this, it seems to realize this. And it does this thing where I've seen bears do. It kind of puts its front paws at the tree, and it's too big of a tree to shake, really, but it's just looking at me and growling and...
Come down here and accept your fate.
Exactly. Let me eat you so we can get this over with.
You're just delaying the inevitable. Yeah, I've seen that look.
Yeah. So, at this point, it's the first time I feel safe enough, really, to take a second and grab into my backpack. And in my backpack, I have bait for the animal, because we've talked about the armor that it has. So, trank rifles don't really work unless you hit a very specific spot. So the plan was to basically just drop a big slab of meat somewhere that is laced with tranquilizers and wait for it to fall asleep.
I did wonder, because that was one of my questions when you said the plan was to tranquilize it. I did wonder, okay, how were you going to get a shot on that? I did almost think you were going to borrow one of the helicopters.
I wish.
Do it Jurassic Park style. Hey, you fly around. do.
Oh yeah. I hope I get to do this one day. No, but
surprisingly hard to aim. But anyway, carry on.
Oh yeah, but probably fun. Anyway, I probably should have mentioned that before. So the plan was just to have him eat this. Basically, just a big slab of meat. If you think of a cartoon steak, basically that. As large as we could find a cut for him to eat, and because you have to put a lot of drunks in there for an animal this size, and it doesn't have to be able to taste it immediately.
Yeah.
Anyway, I'm rambling. So I dangle this meat over his head a few times just to make sure that he notices it, and then throw it down out of the tree, and it does actually turn around and eat the thing, and I'm very relieved.
And that's when you work out you didn't put enough tranquilizer in.
Oh god. No, it actually worked out fine, luckily. Probably because I'm not the one preparing the bait things.
I know how that feels.
People who know what they're doing took care of me, and from that point on, it took a few minutes because, until it gets into the bloodstream and everything, but it gets tired, it falls asleep, and we can call in the cavalry and put it on the truck, and yeah, no, it's living a happy life with free food in an enclosure with a mate, and we hope that we can encourage them to produce some offspring, although in captivity we haven't managed to do so yet, but hope dies last.
Yeah. No, it makes sense. I mean, obviously, as you're kind of alluding to, yeah, we do try to bring some of these creatures back from the brink.
Yeah.
It's not always successful, but we can always hope.
Exactly.
Even some of these dangerous creatures, we will try and keep them alive because they have every right to be around too.
Exactly. We can at least try. I mean, it's not looking very good if we're honest, but, miracles happen. Anyway, if you're looking for other miracles to happen, do you have any idea of where people might find those?
Yes, weirdly enough, I do know where miracles happen. It is at the Blinking Your Mythic Discord.
Oh, God!
Where you can join like-minded people who are all waiting for a miracle.
That's incredible.
We hope that miracle is more episodes. We suspect that miracle is that we'd stop. But, we work with what we have. But, yes.
You're so optimistic.
I know. But, yes, we have a small Discord set up there. You can join in. You can make requests on creatures that you'd like to hear about. Because between Chris and myself, we have pretty much seen everything that's out there. Or at least we're the ones who are usually discussing. Yeah, we've seen everything, including those pictures you thought you'd hidden. We've seen them.
Especially
and we're ashamed.
those.
We are ashamed.
They're my desktop background.
I'm ashamed. But you can also just, start talking to people there and kind of interact with us. And we will try and answer any questions you have or throw them onto the podcast for a future episode. What else should they be doing after going to the description to find the link, which is something I nearly forgot to tell you?
Well, good thing you did at the end. Another thing you should be doing is calling me, but apart from that, you should probably subscribe to this podcast so don't miss out on future episodes.
And this way you got more chance with the creature, with the hairy dragon.
Yes, that's me. Yes, subscribe to the podcast, give us a rating because we like the stars, we devour them for breakfast, and give our older episodes a try. They are all evergreen. You don't need to listen to 800 episodes in order. It's all fine. Just pick something and choose.
We're sure you'll find something you like.
Yeah, you're gonna find so much you like.
Don't oversell.
If you'd like the little visual component, you can also go to our YouTube channel where we have a very pretty animated video version of this podcast. But, you're listening to this episode, so I probably don't need to tell you how to find our podcast. So, anyway, subscribe, give us a rating, share it with everyone you know and everyone you don't know.
Share.
Give us that sweet engagement so we can get big and justify our existence in front of the council board.
Sharing is the best thing you can ever do.
Share it.
Sharing
is caring.
Share the misery.
What is happening? I think I'm going to cut this off before it gets any worse. Thank you very much for listening. I hope you enjoyed it. If not, then tough luck. Thanks for listening. Goodbye.
Goodbye.